themselves in the chat, so please do so as we continue the presentation. Here at Royal Road, we find it very important to acknowledge the traditional land. So Royal Road University is located on the traditional land of the Lekwungen and Cosapsan families and nations, also known as the Esquimalt and Songhe. So it's really with deep gratitude that we play, learn, work here as non-Indigenous and Indigenous people come together. If you know the Indigenous land that you're joining us from today, please indicate it in the chat. It's always fabulous to just learn more and work with our Indigenous community members. As I mentioned, here is the agenda for today. We'll talk about Royal Roads University. We'll do an overview of the Master in Tourism Management. We'll talk briefly about the graduate certificate as well. We'll talk about the application process, requirements, everything about admissions, and we'll welcome your questions throughout the presentation. And behind the scene, I have my colleague Emara today that will post some links. Maybe she introduced herself already. So if there's anything specifically like a little tech issue or anything, you can always connect with Emara in the chat or myself. Here, the big question, why explore Royal Road University? So maybe you're at the bachelor level, maybe you're in another college, maybe you have been away from school for a little while and you're like, oh, why should I get back to school and go to Royal Road University? So we have a few selling points for you here, a few bullets. So we see life as a qualification. I'll talk later about our admission process, but for us, it's really important to take into account who you are. So we're really thinking of where you're coming from, what type of experience do you bring to the cohort, the volunteering experience, the work experience, the education. So we really see you as a whole, and we take it into account when we do admission. Prof, who know your name? I'm a student myself. I'm doing another master program at Royal Road, and I can confirm that this is true. All the instructors get to know us really well. We have small cohort, so you get to know the people you study with, but you really get to connect with your instructors, with the faculty, and Brian will be able to tell you more about it. Learning based on life. So what you experience maybe at the workplace, what you have seen in previous work experiences or other education that you have, you can really bring those challenges, those issues with you into the classroom, even into the online classroom, and discuss them with your cohort. So it's really, we connect the theory and the practice really well to get you skill for the next step into your career. Connection for Life, we have a beautiful network of alumni everywhere in the world. We'll tell you more about it, but really the people you'll meet at Royal Roads, those connections will last forever. So some people will come back to campus sometime together to meet up as a cohort. Some people will stay in touch via LinkedIn, and they will offer each other sometimes jobs, and they will share a lot of resources. So that's beautiful to see. And finally, we were built differently. So since day one, Royal Roads University opened its door for working professionals. So this is why our models are a bit different. And we're really there for people, to inspire people to transform the world. And we do things differently for that reason. As we continue here, so we have a few images of campus. Maybe you give me a thumbs up if you came to campus, to Royal Roads before. So we have the famous Hatley Castle on the top left. So the castle has been built in 1908. It was a retirement house. Then it became a military college, and now we use it. We have our executive team that is there. We have a few classrooms, a few events going on. So when you study on campus, sometimes you have the chance to visit Hatley Castle. The castle is facing the beautiful Esquimalt Lagoon that you can see behind. We have 565 acres of land. So on the top right, you have the Japanese garden, which is lovely when you want to go study, have a walk. Maybe you come with your family and you can check that out. On the bottom left, Sherman Gen building is maybe where Brian is today. So this is one of the beautiful newest building we have on campus. Most of the classroom will happen. And again, as I said, online learning for 25 years. So at the bottom right, this is just a reminder that we were built differently, and we always wanted to kind of reach people where they are. So we know that sometimes you have to study abroad to be to be home or come to campus fully. So we always adapted our models. This is not something we had to do when COVID hit a few years ago. It's really something we do since day one. And before I pass it to Brian, just 2 more slides here. So just to give you an idea where we are in Victoria, British Columbia. We're on a small island, but quite big, called Vancouver Island. And the biggest city are Vancouver and Seattle. So we're a few hours from those cities. And I find it important to mention it just because if you study tourism, you're most likely people that like to travel and look around. So our cities have won quite a few cool titles here that you can see around. And it's really a lovely place to come. We have quite a mild climate. I know that I said today it's cold, it's about 1 degree, but most of the time we're around 6 to 10 degrees during winter, up to 25 during summer. So it's for a reason that I left Quebec City to move to Victoria a few years ago. I find that it's a lovely place to study, work, and live. And here, last slide for me here, we are a change maker institution. And maybe you can Google that, Ashoka U. So a Changemaker campus where there's just a few institutions in Canada that has that accreditation. And it's all about innovation, entrepreneurship, and really the skills that you can develop that are a bit different than other institutions. So I really encourage you to find out more about Ashoka U. We're really proud of it. That's a great accreditation. And I think here, before I pass it to Brian, just to give you a little overview, at Royal Roads, we do 3 types of program delivery. We do fully online, we do blended, which is online with a few weeks on campus, and we also do on campus. So as we go through the presentation, just keep that in mind because we'll explain it with the programs. And here I'll pass it over to you, Brian.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Nancy. Appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. It's great to talk to you again. I'm going to be just going through and giving the details of what the program, the MATM program, looks like. I was one of the originators of the program back 14, 15 years ago when it was first getting going, and I've taught in it ever since. The idea of this program is basically to take you from where you are, particularly if you have an undergraduate degree, but also if you've got substantial experience in this particular field or in a related field. So we start with an individual assessment of what your opportunities are. And that's partly because the learning here, it's a learning community, excuse me, and that means that it's not a situation of just the sage on the stage. It isn't just a matter of the instructors giving you instruction. It's a matter of learning together and learning from the experience and background of the people who are all in the program together. And believe me, we've had some incredibly experienced students in the program, and they're very happy to share their experience and their background with other people. Next slide, please. So there's two major themes that you can look at. One is the MATM, the master's program. The other program is a graduate certificate in tourism management, which is a shorter package, which is offered online. Now, in the Masters of Tourism Management, that's a face-to-face program substantially, but many of the electives that people take are online. A lot of the students who are in the program, pretty well everyone, works part-time while they're going through the program. And that's something which we think is a good thing. We're experientially based. We look at the different opportunities people have, both while they're in the school and also in terms of what they've done before, to make sure that everything fits together and is an effective approach. Next slide, please. Just having a look at the graduate certificate to begin with, we have 3 different times that you can register for that program, which is the same as the MATM. So April, August, or December. You choose any 3 courses that are available in the program. And what you can do is you can take a combination of on-campus, or you could take online, or a blend of the 2. It depends what's available to you and what you would like to take. The graduate certificate ladders into the Masters of Arts in Tourism Management a Master of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies, and the Masters of Business Administration. So all three of those pieces, you still got a choice when you go through the graduate certificate of which direction you wish to go in. Okay, so it's a very valuable step in the right direction. And what it does, you can ladder all of those courses directly into the master's program that we offer. Okay, so next slide. Basically, the idea of the Masters of Tourism Management, it's on campus. You're here, okay? You have 3 entries, April, August, and December, the same as the certificate program. One of the unique situations we have here is that whatever time you come into the program, you blend in with the existing students who are already here taking the courses. That's the way the curriculum is set up. It's quite a remarkable and unusual structure. You don't stay in a cohort of just the people that you arrive with. So you're in with people who are experienced, people who are halfway through their program, just starting or just finishing. Now that's a huge benefit in terms of learning about the program, particularly as we have a strong emphasis on group work and experiential education. So you have the option of finishing in a shorter period of time, 18 months, or you can go to a longer extension if you're going to include online elective courses. There's field study components, including a trip at the present time. This year's trip is to Amsterdam. Okay, it's an optional opportunity, but a lot of the students sign up for that, and we have a faculty member over there who provides that focus and that international experience, which we feel is very important. There's 3 different completion options in the program. The thesis is the standard university-style thesis in which you do a major piece, something which is usually moves towards publication, and something which is stored and available across the country. It's available through our library once you've finished. The major capstone, and there you have a standard committee supervisor and committee members, and you have to do a defense. Okay, so the major research project is usually a one-on-one with yourself and a supervisor, and a lot of the students choose this one because it's a little bit shorter time frame, but most importantly, it gives you that very focused opportunity to do something you really want to do, the same as the thesis, only not quite such a major load. Either way, whether it's thesis or the major research project, those provide the background to go on to a doctorate or an ed doc degree in the future, a PhD. Okay, so those 2 are the ones you want to do if you intend to carry on with your educational journey. The capstone course has way more courses in it. And what it does, it gives you a wider perspective on the tourism field. Okay, so if you're looking for breadth, that's the one to take. If you want depth, you've got different levels of depth in thesis or in the major research project. Okay, now the specializations we're going to get into in a minute have to do with a number of different things. One is study abroad. You can go in and do a term in another institution, in one of the partner institutions which we have, or you can do an internship. So those are really significant elements. The internship is great if you're coming and you want to stay in Canada particularly. That is a really a valuable kind of opportunity to get involved with. And believe you me, there's no problem in getting jobs. Trust me on this. There's lots and lots of jobs. The industry is begging for people to come in. So that's not an issue here if you're worried about getting some kind of work while you're in the program. And also the Canadian government has opened things up significantly recently, so that you can get extended hours while you're going to school. Next slide, please. Now this gives you the range. If you take a look at the left-hand side, the 6 courses that are listed there are required. You've got to take these, okay? these are kind of the core elements which you need to know, and they're taught at a master's level. They're fairly sophisticated courses, and they're taught by people who are very professional and have excellent backgrounds because of the fact they've been there. They've taught in the industry. You know, people have done a number of different experiences, many of them overseas. For example, I've been a consultant and worked in 14 different countries. Okay, so we've got that kind of depth and experience internationally. If you take a look down the right-hand side, you've got the elective courses. Now here you can specialize this in terms of what you wish to follow up on. And I'll take a look at the particular program concentration and specialization in just a minute. But if you look through here, you can take a number of these depending on which completion option you choose to take. Okay. So if you look down, there are very specific examples. Many of these elective courses are taught by people who are presently working in the field. And well, so the core courses as well. So you get that direct hands-on experience from people who are actually doing this kind of work, very often for several years. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the actual completion options, and it shows the way in which this actually works out. If you look at the thesis, that's worth 12 credits. So it's a pretty in-depth kind of experience. And you get a core faculty member usually to supervise your thesis. Okay. For example, I'm supervising I think four or five of them right now. Okay, so that's an important piece if you want to, if you got that particular academic focus, and if you see that as been a benefit in terms of your career path going forward. A major research project is worth 9 credits. So what you're looking at there, you need 3 elective courses for that, 2 for the thesis, okay? And the capstone course, you take 5 elective courses. It gives you the breadth, right? And so it's only worth the 3 credits. But no matter which program you decide, whichever program completion piece you decide to take, you will get that research competencies and skills in all 3 of these. So the methodological elements are always there. They're really important. And we know that whether you go straight out into the workforce or whether you go on to further education, you still have to have that competency in terms of doing research. Okay. Now, okay, the specializations, 2 courses is specialized within your major research project or thesis option, okay? And so you can pick out something which is going to support your thesis in specifically as you go through the program. Go away. Sorry, excuse me a second. Just want to stop that. Okay. What you're looking at here is a situation where you can get recognition for the specialized element that you've got by focusing in on what particular option you decide to take. Okay, so you need to recognize that in association with the supervisor that you choose, if you're going through for the MRP or the thesis option, so you can actually pick out something which is going to give you that extra depth and breadth as you go forward in your process, in your program. Okay, next slide, please.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Brian. Someone in the chat is telling me, wow, that's a lot of options. That is correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to, talk about them a bit? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I will. Someone's trying to get me on the phone. That's why I was a bit distracted. Sorry about that. If you take a look here, you've got 3 different focal points. One is sustainability. This is a very popular kind of option because it's something that is really dominant in tourism discussions at the present time. Okay. So if you take a look at the the options here, you can see you've got a systems perspective and a developing sustainability point of view. What you've got here is courses you can take outside the department, including the sustainable tourism management. So you can take a whole bunch of different elements. You can choose to take courses outside the department that you get credit towards your degree in. Okay. So that's a very flexible opportunity. The other one is social entrepreneurship. Some of our graduates out of here have gone on to set up their own companies, and that's worked out very well. Okay. That's where the social entrepreneurship comes in. Finally, disaster and emergency management, certainly a topic, given the world we live in now, that's become very, very popular here. So that's where it's at. So foundations of disaster management, disaster response and recovery. These are courses outside our department, okay? But you still get credit for them. And if you're going through for a focus on disaster management, and some of our graduates have done that, that's you know, that's something we can strongly recommend and go forward on. Okay, want me to go on about the industry? Talk about that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll change to the next slide. And I think, Brian, just one comment about this slide here. I know last week we were together at the Student Summit, Sustainability Summit at Railroad, and this is kind of those themes, right, that will come up a lot in the industry: sustainability, social entrepreneurship, disaster and emergency management. I think many of your students were really amazed of what they learn and how they can apply it, as you say, in the real world.
That's right. These themes are super significant, and the thing is, we've got people here who have got expertise in these areas, like really current, right now, present, doing consulting work or full-time jobs, whatever it is. The associate faculty, many of them have that kind of background. The other part to it is you've also got a situation where if we can't find someone immediately to deal with your particular focus, we'll get somebody in. So this goes back to the original idea that we all know your name, okay? So we keep in touch with our alumni and with our current students, and we make sure we tailor-make the programs we've got to your particular interests, and we help you develop your particular interests, okay? So people have discovered their personal passion when they're here, and they want to follow forward with it. And so we can actually help you develop that and make it go on from there. You bet. Now, how is the industry doing? Well, you know, we've just been through this pandemic situation, which has caused enormous disruption to the world. It's a really difficult situation, but with tourism is a very resilient industry. It's always had to be. So what we're looking at now is a situation where tourism is bouncing back. There's pent-up demand. It's still in many cases, it's pretty dodgy. If you try to travel, you probably encountered all kinds of problems with traveling short or long distances, but it is coming back pretty fast. And once again, one of the things that's happened is a shortage of employees, particularly people at not only frontline, but at the supervisory and senior level management level. So those are really, really critical. It mentions here that it's a sector of many industries, different places, different circumstances, and different levels of significance in terms of its role in the economy in different parts of the world. Here, it's a big deal. Tourism is a major hotspot in Victoria and the region. So we're located in a place which has got a strong focus on the circumstances of a service industry, which has become very dominant in British Columbia in the last little while, particularly on Vancouver Island and the lower mainland. So yeah, big time. And once again, there's the whole focus on trying to get to net zero by improving our impact on the environment, and also making sure that the workload and the circumstances that we have in the industry are carefully thought through in terms of what kind of an impact we actually have, both on people and on the rest of the environment. So there we are. I guess I can now hand it over to you, I guess, or shall I keep going? I don't mind.
Yeah, you can talk about those slides and I'll just jump in if I see any question. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So I've already introduced the idea of your career. Now, the career has to do that with the idea that it's going to grow, whether it's localized and people are going back and forth on a local basis, or whether or not you're looking at international. Some people that come to the programs here go back to their home countries. Other people want to have a career and stay in Canada. We are very comfortable adapting to either goals that you have. Okay, so, and we can give advice based on global experience as well as local experience and a Canadian experience. So what you come away with from here is skills and knowledge which go well beyond just tourism. Okay, so tourism in itself requires a wide range of competencies and skills. And one of the things we do is we focus on three special themes: competence, confidence, and capability. Okay, those three elements are really important. You've got to be competent and be seen to be competent. You've got to have confidence to go ahead and choose a direction that you feel comfortable with and that you feel is going to move you ahead to where you want to be. And capability is a broader sense, because what it says is it has to do with leadership. Okay, it has to do with your capacity to lead other people in this field. And of course, to do that, you need the critical thinking skills, problem solving, and you've also got to have a very strong sense of intercultural communications. We've got many different countries and different cultural backgrounds represented at Royal Roads. Okay, and so you need to develop that skill while you're in the class, working with people from many different backgrounds, because that will really see you forward as you move into the next stage in your career. Okay, so very, very important. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. Where are we? Okay, so this slide is about student topics of research. And if you take a look there, there's quite a wide range. This is only a very, very small example. For example, I'm supervising a project right now on beachfront pollution in Kenya. Okay. Another one was cultural tourism development in Zimbabwe. Another one is on, I'm supervising a thesis at the moment, which deals with developing and expanding the approaches used in interpretation in provincial parks. Okay, so wide range. So if you take a look down the list there, you can see that some have to do with people who are intending to return back to their home culture, and other people who want to stay. I used to live and work in Souk, and you can see that there's a particular element there which is important. And of course, COVID has been a big topic over the last couple of years of how people recover and adapt to the circumstances which we've had to deal with the COVID. So lots of different topics. And remember, these are developed if you're doing a thesis or a major research project with your supervisor. And we also have an expectation here that people will choose their supervisor based on their experience in the classes that they've taken. Okay, so there's a lot of personal choice involved in this. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, what do people do? I'll just quickly run through this. There's a lot more than this. Lots of people go into hotels, some go into culinary, and lots of people go into travel, destination management organizations, for example. People do go on to doctoral studies. Several people have gone through and developed and taken a PhD or a doc. So you've got people who are focusing in on working with special events organizations, working in municipalities and in regional districts. All of these kinds of things come up. And destination management organizations. One of the things that I teach is destination management. I teach a course called transforming destinations. So that's a real strong integrated kind of focus. And you'll see this in many of the courses because we have such a wide range of experience. Next slide, please.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And I think this slide here feature what we often get when we do recruitment trips. People are like, oh, but why will I invest in a master? And I think that's exactly what you answer. It's you don't get that entry-level job. You really get all the skills and the thinking to go higher, manage people, use your leadership, right?
That's correct. The master's is a rare commodity in tourism. Okay, if you go to Europe, there's quite a few. Okay, there's lots of people with a master's degree, but in Canada, we're about the only show in town in terms of an English language training program. Okay, so you can get specializations in other institutions, but we're the people that offer the master's degree in tourism management, and it's a master's of arts in tourism management, and that's important if you wish to go on to doing a doctoral degree or a higher level degree. Okay, so you want to understand that the MA in tourism management was deliberately and carefully chosen because of the fact that it gives you that upward mobility if you happen to need it. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, here's the some of the core faculty members. And in this, I won't necessarily identify everyone in there, but we've got people who are currently running large travel companies, people who have, you know, there's a bunch of people with doctoral degrees in here, and not surprisingly, there's people who have had amazing and leading edge experience in terms of policy setting. So you've got a really strong group of people here, and I think that's significant. And you might notice they're all different ages. Of course, I'm the oldest, right, by far, but nevertheless, to some extent, that's good. In terms of experience, it may be bad in the fact I've forgotten most of the stuff I've done. Okay, so overall, the most important thing is having people who have the experience and can talk about it in a knowledgeable and thoughtful way. Very, very important. Okay, next slide, please. I think
and I'll take over. Thank you. Sorry,
okay.
Brian, I'm still laughing at your that you have been there for a long time, but we can tell that you know a lot about the program, which everybody here appreciate. Wonderful. And just before I continue with the admission process, I'm just looking in the chat. I think one of the questions, and I encourage everybody to keep asking questions, we'll monitor the chat. But a question for you, maybe Brian, or I can answer for what I know for our master program, but people were asking, can we work and study at the same time? I don't know if you can take that on, Brian, maybe. Oh, that's okay. I know that Eugene, our school director, posted a response there about working and studying at the same time. It's true that working full-time might be difficult if you study full-time, but you can always look for maybe part-time options. I know that, as I mentioned, Royal Roads has been funded to be for working professionals. So I know most of our program will allow a little bit of capacity for you to work, but I will encourage everybody to take their education first, and then you can work around it. And I think it depends of your level of, not necessarily knowledge, but your level of how you can read and go through the assignment. We do a lot of teamwork, so sometimes that can take a few hours per week. And I know someone in the chat was asking about how many hours per week. I know we used to say 10 to 15 hours a week that you need to dedicate, but it can be plus sometimes if you have kind of crunch time for some assignment, teamwork, presentations. So if Brian or Eugene want to add anything in the chat, feel free to do so. And please, everybody, just continue asking questions. I know some have specific question about GPA and admission. I'll discuss that in a minute. And this is why the email address learn.more@royalroads.ca is very important, because this is the enrollment services, and you can reach back to them, and they have really answered to those specific questions. When we do webinars, it's mostly to give you like the biggest picture of the program, and then we can do one-on-one with you to answer specific questions. So how to apply? Maybe you're getting excited. Maybe some of you are already in an apply stage with Royal Roads University. Maybe some of you have done another program thinking of coming back. So I'll try to cover in a few minutes how to apply here and answering your questions. as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we do two different admission styles here at Royal Roads. I'm very proud of it because that gives the opportunity to many people to join the cohort. And that gives you a beautiful variety of people in the cohort as well. So standard admission is mostly what you will see at other institutions. So that means you have a 4-year or comparable undergrad degree, and you maintain a GPA of B from a post-secondary institution. We also ask that you have a 2 years of full-time work experience in the industry, just because, again, we're at a master level, so we want people to have a bit of an experience to kind of level up what they know already. And if you don't have that 2 years of full-time experience, you can as well have something that is called kind of the internship of co-op that is for a 6 months period. So you have the exact numbers here that will be at least 840 hours or a total of 24 weeks. And I think we created that, and maybe Brian, you can jump in. We created that part for people studying, actually doing an internship and wanted to really continue, for example, coming from a bachelor to a master right away. If you need to take a break, you want to work in between and come back to us, or maybe that's your situation right now, you're very welcome to join us via standard admissions. And the little note at the bottom is quite important. I know many people like myself has English as a second language, so you can look up some of the link of the English requirement for our programs. All the programs are fully in English. And if you have been away from school for a little while, I really encourage you to take that academic writing and critical thinking course. That's what I did a few years ago. And it's really bring you up to speed to all the APA citation and, you know, all the kind of academic level that we need to be successful in the master. Do you want to add anything, Brian? I'm not sure if I can hear you. I think you might be muted at this point. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay, there we are. So I think a couple of other things here. It's one thing to have really good capacity in terms of communication skills. The writing I think is really important, and I think Nancy's expressed that as very well. You've got to be good at writing. It's not like the only assignments you have involve written assignments. It's not like that. We have a wide range of different types of assignments, but being able to read well and be clear on reading in English and possibly other languages obviously as well would be great. But I think it's a really important skill that you really need to have. Okay, so if you can actually look at that and consider it, that would be much appreciated. Okay, so if you don't mind, looking at the academic writing and critical thinking skills, I'd really recommend that you take it. It's good for anyone, whether you're a good writer or not in English. It's just something that gives you that extra edge when you actually come into the program, when you're dealing with a lot of reading and a lot of assignments to be handed in. So I strongly recommend it. I think it's a really good idea.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure to share the links for those resources with the recording to everyone. And then if you don't apply, if you're looking into standard admission and you're like, no, I'm not fitting into that category, this is what is wonderful, is that at Royal Roads, we can do flexible admission. And this is not something when you apply online that you will have to check. That's really the admission advisor that will review your file and let you know if you're going through standard or flexible admissions. And the flexible admission means that maybe you don't have post-secondary education, but we require 7 years of progressive work experience, 3 years of which will be in a leadership role. And I hope that doesn't stop you from applying, because I find that sometimes if you just pause and reflect on everything you have done in your life, volunteering, work, maybe things you have done at other colleges and university, if you were like involved in some committees and stuff. So sometimes that kind of 7 years will add up quite quickly. If you have completed some post-secondary education, but you don't meet the 4-year, again, we'll do a case-by-case basis admission. So we'll review your file and try to work with you to make it work if you can come to the program. But this is kind of that experience we're looking at if you don't have the education piece. I hope I'm making sense, yeah?
Yeah, if I can just add something to that. We've had people in the program who are kind of getting into a continuation of a second career. In other words, they've worked in the industry for a long time. They might be in their 40s or 50s, okay? And they're looking to go forward and change their role to being a teacher. We have graduated dozens of teachers who are now working in universities and colleges all the way across the world, okay? And that is a really, really valuable thing that we produce. We provide, train the trainers at the master's level for people that want to go out and become instructors elsewhere. Or maybe they already are instructors and they have to get a master's degree to carry on and get promoted in their jobs. So that's a really critical piece, because tourism is so complicated and so specific. Those kinds of skills and competencies are really hard to find because of the fact that a lot of institutions, particularly universities, require people to have the advanced degree to go on to be a teacher. So for people going through that transition, this is the place to come, because you get that breadth and depth of experience, excuse me, which is going to be very much required in other institutions.
Yeah, really well said. Thank you. And again, here is how to apply. So if you're ready to submit your application, you will go online at royalroads.ca, you will click apply, and then you will see the 10 steps to follow, quite easy. So just one step 1 to 10. You will pay a fee of $131.39, and then you will start sharing documents with us. And that will be all written down in the application form. You will need to submit all official transcript that you got from post-secondary institution in the past. You will need to supply a detailed resume. And that resume, again, is really the big picture. So it's not just a job resume. You'll have to let us know about your volunteering and education pieces. Personal statement of intent. That was one of my favorite parts when I apply at Royal Roads. It's really, as I said before, you sit, you pause, you reflect on everything you have done and where you want to go. And if you're coming through standard admission and you have that 4-year degree, but maybe some grades were not the best, this is where you get a chance to let us know why. So you can really go deep into your personal statement to let us know who you are and, again, where you're heading. And on the website, there's more details about each part, each pieces that you can follow, kind of guidelines for that. We also ask for 2 letters of reference. So we want to hear from you, but we want to hear from others what they think of you. That can be 1 letter of an academic contact that you have, and a professional one. Those letters of reference will need to come from your referees directly to admissions. So again, more information you can find online. The transcript and the letters of reference will be from the institution, from the people to our admission team, but you will be responsible to upload your resume and personal statement. And this is just a few steps, again, just to make sure that you're ready to apply, that we can understand who you are and work with you throughout a successful career and education journey. And we have a few intakes coming up. I really like that program for that reason. You don't have to wait every September to get in. So you have April, August, and December. So the one for April is coming up quite soon. I can't believe we're already at the end of January 2023. But we have the deadline, as you can see, that has been a little bit postponed. So if you're ready today, I will encourage you to submit your application. So at least you start your online application, then you submit documents to be ready in time. If you're joining us from abroad, you might consider a little bit more months just to make sure that we can have a smooth process for you, because you have sometimes a few more pieces to join, a few more documents to do. So this is why you can see that the August intake has a longer application deadline. So we're now working to like 3 to 6 months before the start date, to get your application in, again, just to work together to have more time and be able to really support you throughout the process. So that's why those 2 deadlines are back to back. And then if you're thinking of maybe December 2023, then your application will be June for the Master of Arts and September for the grad certificate. And that information is easy to find online on the website. And it's just for you to get an idea. We know that it's a big step to take to go back to school. So take your time, review that. And if you apply for April and then you want to postpone to August, we're flexible and we can work with you. And as a prospect student, you're not a student yet, but as a prospect, you have a few services available to you. Thank you to Emara who posted the link before about the financial aid and award. I really encourage you to connect with them because they know so much about internal grants, internal loans, and what is available externally too. Sometimes it depends on the country you're coming from or the province you're joining from. So really, they will know much better. And the enrollment services, they work with prospect every day, so they're amazing. They can be reached at learn.more@railroads.ca. You have their phone number as well. And I really like what Brian, you mentioned before, they can connect you as well with a graduate. So if you want to see and learn more about what it is to study at Railroads and where is that person now, you can always connect with enrollment and they will put you in touch with someone, which I think is a fantastic way to learn more about the program and really get the kind of hands-on experience. Right. And this is it for us today. I know some people in the chat were laughing about the peacock. So here's a picture of a peacock. We have quite a few on campus. We hope you'll be able to come and see them soon. And again, we can stay on for a few minutes if you have more questions, and I'll make sure to send you the recording with all the links over the coming hours. And I see we have someone in the waiting room. I'll just let them in. Brian, anything to add to conclude?
Well, not too much. Thank you very much, Nancy, for leading all of this. I think the most important thing is also you can connect with me, okay, as the program head for this particular program. I've done it many times before. I've been through several different roles in this university, including acting dean. But this particular time, I'm filling in for Rebecca Wilson-Marr, who will be coming back from a study leave in September, end of September. So I'm going to be here over the summer, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone who wants to get further detailed information as well. So I know how important it is to have a sense of security going forward, especially now. Okay, so I'm happy to provide anything you need to find out about. I'm easy to find, and I get back to people pretty darn fast. All right. So that's it. So
I'm just looking at a few questions. We have some questions are about tuition costs, and you're right. So, some people are saying they don't see it online. So I don't think we have all the tuition costs coming up. But again, by connecting with the enrollment services, they will have past tuition costs and they can adjust to you. They can let you know what's the average for 2023. So I cannot send you any link for now. And someone is asking, how should we pay tuition? So you will do kind of a first deposit as you apply, as you're accepted, I should say. You'll pay like kind of a big chunk there, but then it's every course you will take, you will pay an amount. So it's really well balanced. It's not like everything at first for sure. That will be throughout the years that you will be with us. And you can pay, of course, by e-transfer, credit cards, check, all those ways. Admission requirement, are they the same for both programs? I would think so, huh, Brian? All those documents are for the grad certificate as well.
Because just to let you know, the certificate and the master's degree classes are the same people. You're in the same class, whether you're a master's degree or a certificate. It doesn't make any difference, right? Because remember, the certificate programs mostly are online, and in the master's program, a lot of the electives are online. So you're taking face-to-face courses, and some of them are online as well.
Great. And I think maybe one more question, Brian. Someone is asking, how long is the summer? And I guess it's how long do we study in the summer? I would think that the program will continue over summertime, right?
Yeah. Okay. Like, for example, I teach in the summer, right? Which I really like, actually. I start in May, and the weather is just getting really, really nice. So I can cycle into work. I like that. Okay. So May, and I finish my course at the end of July. Okay. Then there's like a 3 or 4 week break. And then you get back in and you start your courses going into September and into the fall. So you really, in terms of the summertime, you're looking mostly at between May and the end of July, right? Much of August is kind of a gap. Now, that doesn't necessarily apply to electives taken outside the school. They would be slightly different situation, right? It depends there's different start and stop times in different courses. So just be aware of that. But for the core courses, that's the situation.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. And one last question: do we have to take all elective programs? I would think you pick and choose, right?
No, pick and choose. It depends on your completion options. You only have to take 2 electives if you're doing a thesis, right? But you have to do 5 if you're doing the capstone course. Okay, so you just need to know, you have to plan, you have to really think and strategically plan what you are going to do in the program. And that means a lot of engagement and a lot of clear thought. You're not going to have people, it's a master's degree. We're not going to hold your hand. You have to basically come to us and negotiate and discuss what you want to do and what your goals are and how best to achieve things.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brian. And I think we can just stay on to answer the chat. I think it's more personal question at this point. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. We hope you'll have a fantastic day, and we'll be in touch by email. And please email Brian, myself, or Learn.more if you need anything. And thank you to everyone behind the scene helping us in the chat as well. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.